All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not get these answers here, and I just ran it to the nearest tenth, I didn't specify. Just whatever quiz you're taking, whatever practice you're doing, they'll usually say what to round to, so just be aware of that. But if you're checking, always check first to see if you put the right things in the right spots. Does that kind of make sense? Always double check that first. Also, common mistakes are the signs. A common mistake is to get these signs incorrect. Isn't a negative or a minus with a negative, is that going to multiply together and make it positive? So be careful with those. I decided to leave it as a square root until after I split it up, because that way I'm just going to be rounding once. I don't like to round twice in a problem. So I left it as square root 21 because it didn't break down nice. And then I just entered it in my calculator at the very end to get those two answers. Why did I not keep that dividing by 1?
Because you would just get lost in it.
Does dividing by 1 change anything?
No.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
Can I get a smiley face? I got it right.
Okay.
Yeah, can I get a smiley face too?
Yes.
I could just ask for smiley faces every single time I got it wrong.
No, I said I can do it right.
That's good.
Surely I guess
I don't deserve it if I get it wrong.
I have to sneeze the wrong amount. It's spelled.
Just in case I move
No, it's like spelled. Like I can do it. Yeah, it's in there. It's just not.
You have your days, you know.
All right.
Anybody watches that, they'll see it.
I'm famous. Oh my god.
Well, you're actually, what is wrong with you people? You're gonna pepper spray.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys. We got 3 more problems that we need to do.
Oh my god.
3 more problems. Next up.
Sorry guys.
4x squared equals 8. You could totally solve this problem. How? How are some ways you can solve it?
The one we just learned, maximum floor.
Well, we just learned. Oh, you could solve it by completing the square, which would be really weird here because there's no c value, or no, there's no b value. So that might be kind of weird. So completing the square, you could make it work still, but it wouldn't be.
You could just.
Yeah, what could you do instead, Debbie?
What would the B value or whatever be 0?
It would. So when you completed the square, it would be 0. It's weird, yeah. Uh-huh.
Can you just like solve it, like divide by 4 and then square root it?
Yes. Yeah, you totally could, right? Whenever you got x squared, whenever you got an x squared and no x value, just divide by 4, square root it, you're going to be there.
Oh.
But we can also solve this by doing the quadratic formula. What does it need to be equal to?
0.
So we're going to go 4x squared minus 8 equals 0. Now the reason I wanted to do this problem is because when you're filling it in, it's x equals negative b. What are we missing?
B.
There's no b term. Guess what its value is?
0.
It's 0. Is everybody with me on that? So we go negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4a. And do you guys agree that negative 8 is our c?
Yes.
All right. So that's why I wanted to go over this. All over 2a. So this is kind of nice because this is just 0. So I'm not going to write 0 here. Since it's 0 out front, I'm just going to write plus or minus. And then here, that's not going to do anything, is it? So I just need to multiply 4 times 4 times 8. Help me out. What is that?
8 square root 2.
I got 120.
Yeah, 16 times 8.
128.
128?
Yes, 128.
And it's going to be positive, isn't it? Yes. So it's 128 right there. That's not a perfect square, is it? It's not a perfect square. So since it's not a perfect square, I'm going to leave it as square root 128. over 8. And I'm ready to get 2 answers here. For one of them, and by the way, we could break this down and get exact answers, but I'm going to stick with decimals. Whenever we do quadratic formula, we almost always just stick with decimals. So what we'll do, punch in square root 128, divide by 8. And why did I split this up? Just because I wanted to see 2 possible answers here. And I actually don't have this worked out. What do you guys get? 1.4?
Yeah.
1.4?
Wait, why do you want us to do or decimal place and not square roots?
Oh, just because that way it'll match our other answers.
1.415.
I didn't.
I get a 1.4.
1.4 and negative 1.4. Yeah, I got plus or minus 1.4.
You square root the 128, which you get 11.3, then you divide 11.3 by 8. And a negative 11.
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, I'm good
Let's
at
keep
stuff.
going here. Let's keep going.
That was pretty easy.
Because I'm blind.
Your glasses.
I lost it.
You think that's
Where
what
are
you
your
happen?
What?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, focus please.
That's why what?
4x squared
I can see from that.
minus 4x equals negative 1. I'm going to be quiet and we'll see if we match.
Is this first smiley?
No.
You only get one smiley face every single time.
I want a smiley.
That was really loud.
Just you got the other one wrong.
What's kind of weird about this? What happened underneath your square root? Came 0. Is it gonna matter? And by the way, what's the square root of 0?
0.
Does it matter if this is plus or minus?
No.
So it turns out we're only gonna have one solution. What's our one solution?
Yeah.
It's a half. It's a half. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. I'm going to throw some vocab out at you. The b squared minus 4ac, it's called the discriminant. And the reason they call it the discriminant is because the discriminant's value can tell you if you get 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no solutions, or another way to say that is 2 imaginary solutions. Because if it's a negative, yeah, if b squared minus 4ac is a negative, wouldn't you get 2 no solution or 2 imaginary answers? So if the discriminant's 0, you're just going to get what's left over. You guys okay with that? And then let's do one more. One more. Yeah.
How would you determine the sign?
Positive, positive. Yep. And our last one for today. X squared plus 4 equals x. Same deal. Work it out. I'll work it out as well. Be careful where you put that x, right?
My calculator, I'm saying error. Every time I try and solve the square root.
You can't just.
Negatives.
Yeah, your calculator doesn't like that, does it? It's because you're trying to square root a negative, and your calculator knows that's not possible, and that's why our answer is no real
So
solution.
if you can't get some out of square roots now.
Exactly.
No, if it's a negative.
But more importantly, it's if you're trying to square root a negative, that's not possible. Ladies and gentlemen, practice this, okay? Practice this. We may go ahead and just move on to, I think maybe it's our last lesson. We may, and then just save our quiz for later. Does that sound like a plan?
Or maybe.
But
I want a quiz on this one.
make sure to do some homework. Is everybody with me? Do some homework.